All right, welcome back. As you can see there, Dr. Joy Ogaji joins me right now at the table. She's Executive Secretary, Association of Power Generation Companies. Doctor, welcome to the show. It's been a while.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
We've not seen, but we've been communicating.
Yes.
And I know you're an ardent viewer of the show because there's no day you don't send me messages. I'm like, Doctor is always watching the show. So thank you very much for those messages.
No problem.
Where should we start from, really? During the break, you said I'm very frustrated. I am.
Yes, I am too.
How frustrated are you? Because you are part of the value chain.
I know.
You people are those that are also putting us in this problem.
I know.
So you are a cause.
Guilty as charged.
Okay. So why have we seen the national grid collapse about 5 times this year alone in 6 months? What exactly is the problem?
Okay. I think is it
Good
still morning? Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers online. When you look at a problem, for example, like malaria, malaria shows symptoms for some people with headache. Some may start with maybe forehead pain. It depends. So the grid collapse is a symptom of a more deeper problem in the power sector. So the grid collapse is just a symptom, in my own view. So why we look at grid collapse as in, because I was also doing my research and I saw that as at today, from 2013 till now, the grid has collapsed over 134 times. And any technically inclined person will understand the implication of grid collapse. When the grid collapse, generation companies are losing money, gas suppliers are losing money because the grid collapse everywhere is in darkness. The whole country is in total darkness. So a man, the industry or the MSME that are relying on that power to produce a particular product is losing money at that point. The distribution companies are losing money because their customers, their big customers, apathy and restiveness, as in I didn't have power. When the grid collapsed, the transmission company also lose money because they cannot charge their willing charge if there is a grid collapse. So it is a whole loss for the whole economy and also for the economy as a whole, because as I've outlined, the gas suppliers, so the gencos, to the transmission, to the distribution and consumers, and also the industrialists all lose money. So it's a critical component because power is a bedrock upon which every industry revolves. That's why most times you see there's hardly a day in the papers that you won't see power. And everybody is lashing onto it because one, it gives you political attention as well. You can see the 3 critical top runners, Labour, APC, PDP, they've all given one projection or the other on power. You have hardly heard anything on other sectors because they all know power is a bedrock upon which the industry revolves. So now come to your question. Why is the grid incessantly collapsing? I was listening to one of the programs, I think is in the evening. What's that program? Is the one that features Ajebo and one other those groups in the evening. I think it starts 6 to 7 in the evening. My driver likes it, so on my way home, we like listening. And somebody called in and said, why is it? I think that day they were discussing the grid collapse. And somebody called in and said, we should call Dangote to give us cement so that we can cast the grid and it will stop collapsing. Clearly, that shows me the level of understanding of Nigerians of what a grid looks like.
I was also coming to that, but I will allow you to land because I don't want to assume that many people don't even understand what we mean by national grid collapse. Yes. But you were talking about why it collapsed. Then we will come to later what actually is the national grid. So move ahead, please.
Okay, so as I was saying, from my opening remark, I've said that the grid collapse is just a symptom of other issues. Personally, too, like you rightly said, I joined the power sector in 2011, and I was part of the team that helped with the privatization. So yesterday, when I saw the news from Labour Union that they should reverse the power sector privatization, I was also a bit concerned. Yes, the call is out of frustration. The call, I think almost everybody calls it, the last time it was the Senate, then the House of Reps, then the presidency, everyone calls for the reversal. But before I go into the reversal of the power sector, like I told you, when you pick one issue, it opens up another issue. So it's a whole slew of so many interconnected issues. Now, why is a grid collapsing? A grid collapse when either there is low frequency, maybe, okay, I think I cannot go forward without explaining what a grid is. Now, the grid is, in the Nigerian context, is like a transportation process, a transportation system. Let's say the ABC transport, or God is good transport. Because the grid is a transporter that transport power from the generation company to the distribution company at different levels anyway of power. So when it gets to from the generation to the transmission is a very high powered level. So that power cannot be given straight to the discos. If they do that, all our equipment will just be burnt. So it has to be stepped down to the level to the distribution company. And from the distribution company, they too cannot just give it the way it comes. They have to step it down to the level of consumption, if it's a residential or industrial. So it is not like a concrete wall, as we think. It is a transportation process.
It's a network.
Yes, it's a network. Yes, that's the right word. It's a network. So it's a network of interconnected and different levels. So this is the grid. Now, why is the grid collapsing? The control room is at Osogbo in we know
Osogbo is not Osun State.
Osun State, yes. It's in Osogbo. So that's the National Control Center. So it is like a screen where the controllers who are trained for it are checking how much generation is coming, how much are the distribution companies taking, how much is transmission able to. So they are just managing, it's like juggling a whole lot of balls. And in the process of juggling, if, for example, rain threatens to come, as we all know, the moment the weather change, all the distribution feeders will go off. Now, you shouldn't ask me why the feeders go off. You should call the distribution companies to come and explain to you why the feeders go off, even though I know the reason. Because when the feeders go off, that automatic reduction, for example, they are doing 300, on the 12th of June, when it collapsed the last time, they were doing about 3,707 something.
Yes.
And it collapsed
to 9.
So
I was coming to that.
So you can
to
see
9 megawatts.
Yes. So you can see what happened in the process. A lot of the generation companies, especially that use gas, will lose a lot of gas unaccounted for, and nobody can pay for it because the grid collapsed. Again, there are machines, because you know when you're on full mode and you just crash, bing, that sound, if you put your generator in the house and all of a sudden maybe you have a little child playing and just unplug the source through which power is being supplied to your house, you will also hear your generator making that boop, 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 boop. Is a lot of destruction on the parts. Their blades and so many components are destroyed. The way the market is designed, this cost is on the generation companies. And so part of the reason why...
Which cost?
The cost of maintaining this up and down of the grid.
Okay.
Now, the way the MITO is designed, the MITO is a multi-year tariff order.
Yes.
Now, the way it is designed is a generation company is allowed to have a start-stop that is up and down in the whole year for 20 times. It should not be more than 20 times. It's in their power purchase agreement. But I want to tell you that the grid, apart from this collapse you're seeing, which is, we are counting about 134, and according to you, about 5 this year, the up and down movement, sometimes they go up, sometimes they come down. Instead of 20, is now over 365 in 1 year. And some days is more than once, 3 times a day. So if you do the calculation, it's over 700. Now, the reason why I mentioned that part is to show you the impact and destruction on the machines. A lot of Nigerians have been saying, Why is generation not increasing? Most of the generation units are bad because of this up and down movement. And since they are bad, one, no 95% of power generation is dollarized. Gas is in dollar. All our O&M, which is operation and maintenance, is in dollars. For any of the spare parts, none is done is produced in Nigeria. Is in dollars, so we have to get it in dollars. And with inflation and forex like this, so I am not saying that power will not increase, but a lot needs to be done for power to increase. I don't know if I have answered your question on why the grid is collapsing, because like I said, one leads to the other. It has a lot of issues.
You know, I'm always so torn whenever I'm discussing power. You see, it has many appendages.
Absolutely.
And I try as much as possible to discuss within the purview of the person that I'm speaking with. Okay. You know,
yes.
generation, but I know you, of course,
yes.
understand
yes.
the sector. And the sector is a bit technical. So I'm also struggling with a way to make it understandable for my viewers and for Nigerians. Because just like I said earlier, some people don't even understand this thing. What many Nigerians really want to see and what they understand is when I just put on my switch,
we see lights.
We see lights, you know, and people still say up NEPA till today. And when, they don't bring lights, up NEPA. And I'm like, there's no NEPA again. So if even Nigerians still say up NEPA, that means they don't even understand that the sector has been privatized.
That's another issue.
Yes.
Lack of consumer education.
Education.
Yes, and enlightenment is a critical component.
Okay, so we'll come to that, but let me break down some of the things which you said.
Go ahead.
Where do I start from now? Okay, let me start from the latter. Generation capacity. At the time, I read that you guys can generate up to 80,000 megawatts or so. Is it that? Yeah, or more than what we are generating now, but it's just that the people are not taking it. The discos are not taking it. How true is that?
Okay.
That we have the capacity to generate more power.
Yes.
But it's not a matter of power generation. It's a matter of distribution.
Yes. Again, like the way I described, I think your camera, if the viewers can see, is on a tripod. So the power sector also is on a tripod. Generation, distribution, transmission. So, and is a value chain. And we all know that a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So why I have a contract to generate power, I don't have a contract to distribute or transmit. I just have a license pursuant to this document, section 65, to generate power. So it's the onus is now on the next person to distribute equal to what or more than what I can. I'm trying to break it down so it doesn't sound too technical. Under normal circumstance, in that value chain design, the transmission capacity should be 20 times more than the distribution capacity. The distribution capacity should also be more than 20 times the generation capacity. So each time there is a leeway, you know, like a wiggle room. But in this situation, we have installed capacity of 13,000 megawatts. That's the GENCOs currently.
Okay, installed capacity.
Installed capacity of 13,000 megawatts. Installed means now this phone, its capacity is, if I recall, I think is 512. Yes. So that's,
megabytes.
Yes. So that's the installed capacity. So for all the power generation companies, according to their machine capacity, it totals 13,000 megawatts. It's more than that, but I'm just putting it at 13,000 megawatts. Now, out of that 13,000 megawatts, they have been able to bring up to about 8,000. As at 2020, we had about...
Okay, yes, that's 8,000.
Yes, 8,000.
Yes.
8,000 available. Now, this 8,000 available, the system, I didn't know we were going to talk about generation, but I can also send you, if you want to project, your people can quickly project. Then you can see from 2013 till date, we have not taken more than 50% of what is available.
The available 8,000?
Yes.
We've not taken up to 50% because we'll be hovering around 3,000.
3,000, maximum 4,000, like that. From 2013 till date. So, although the generation companies have an expansion capacity, Expansion capacity means they can double even what is installed. Now, another question Nigerians want to know is, what's the difference between 13 and 8? Why are they not able to generate all the 13? Then it comes back to the same point. I have 8 available. You've not taken the 8. So for me to be able to increase it to 13, what is incentive for me to increase from 8 to 13? When the 8, out of the 8, you are taking just about 4,000.
So what happens to even the remainder of the 4?
That is a question. It's stranded.
What do you mean by stranded?
Okay. Stranded means the power is there. Okay, now, you know, you've heard on telly, and especially experts come up and say, how can we pay for power we did not consume?
Yes.
Now, let me use
especially
this.
from embeds.
Yes.
And blaming you guys for unutilized capacity.
Yes. Now, I will explain this to Nigerians. In 2013, when the privatization took place, the agreement, the GENCO signed with BP, because the performance agreement was signed with BP and Ministry of Finance, MOFI. Okay, the agreement was the 4 thermal GENCOs means Egbin, Transcorp Ugeli, Sapele Ogorode, what's the 4th one? Geregu of Kogi State. These 4 thermals and two companies, Hydro, they are concessionaires. So Kainji, Jeba, owned by Mainstream, Shiroro, owned by North South. These 6 companies were the 6th generation companies that were privatized. The agreement was within 2013, and in 5 years, GENCO should ramp capacity to 5,000 megawatts. So the contract they have is to ramp up capacity because power was very low. That was the essence of the privatization. Now, these companies went home and got acquisition loans, signed the PPA. The PPA said, generate. As you generate, we'll pay you 100%. Transmission said, we can transmit all that you generate. Distribution said, we can distribute all that you generate. So they all signed the contract. Distribution signed a performance agreement with BP too. And generation also signed, and TCN is on government. So government has given the guarantee. Now, GENCOs went, got loans and everything, and started generating. As they are coming up, they're seeing the power was not being taken. Now, answer it for your viewers. I have hired a bus that carries 12 passengers. And I have taken a loan to buy this bus that takes 12 passengers. I have entered a contract to fuel that bus that takes 12 passengers. I have hired a driver that I have signed a contract as a driver's contract. I have hired maybe conductor to manage the in and out in the bus. And your contract is deliver 12 passengers to Niger State every day. I am ready. The first day I came, only 3 passengers inside. Remember that I have filled my bus with fuel. The filling station will not give me fuel that can carry 3 people because the capacity of my bus is 12. So I've done this now. Because you could not take it from 2013 till now, you now tell me that why should I pay what I didn't pay for? What I did not consume. Now, let Nigerians judge. The person who has taken loans and foreign investors who have invested into that business, because of the contract, they saw that they will be paid 100%. What do we do to them? How do we encourage foreign investors to come again, knowing that today we sign contract, tomorrow we will change our mind? How?
No, like I said earlier, I know that there is this kind of tussle amongst you players.
Blame game.
Yes, the blame game is so much for you guys in that sector. And I wonder how all of you stay in one room when you come for meetings and you don't fight one another. But if we take a look at this national grid, you said it's due to a myriad of many challenges and all of that. What are the solutions? Bearing in mind, I'm speaking now, having it in mind that I know some things have been done. Government have made some pronouncements too. Interventions have gone into the sector. 1.6 trillion, I think, as at 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Central Bank of Nigeria, even at every MPC meeting, gives us an update of how much has been spent in the power sector. amid all of this that have been done, are there other solutions so that we don't see national grid collapse? But I also doubt, because we've seen national grid collapse 216 times since 2010 to 2020, 10 years.
That is those
Yes.
ones that are reported.
That's the ones that are reported. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. The blame game has been ongoing for a long time, and this blame game is not taking us anywhere. It's causing frustration even for Nigerians. And when we say Nigerians, we are not different. Though I am the executive secretary for GENCOs in Nigeria, I also suffer the blackout. I have my generator, I have an inverter in the house. So when there is no light, in fact, I've added solar. Is that bad?
There's no fuel for you to even put in the generator now.
Okay, so the pain is felt by everybody, including the policymakers, the regulators, even the presidency. Everyone feels it. So what is the solution? Before you called me yesterday, I was actually doing some research on the solution, and I came across a theory that I would like to share. And the theory is a dead horse theory. I don't know if you've heard of it. Now, the dead horse theory is reminiscent of what we do in Nigeria. In that it is not, because I was thinking it's only in the power sector. It's not only in the power sector. The dead horse theory is from the origin of Dakota in India, where they said that the best thing to do is when you find your horse is dead, dismount. But in Nigeria, we don't dismount. You know what we do? When we find out that our horse is dead, just as you have quoted, we have spent about 6 trillion in the sector.
1.6 trillion.
1 point.
Yes.
Yes, that's CBN.
Yes.
But every other one, some people have reported it's up to 6 trillion. Because there are so many, World Bank, AFDB, and so many.
Yes.
Okay. When we look at the humongous amount that has sunk in the sector, coming to the realization or acknowledging that our horse is dead becomes difficult. So instead, we said, how do we make this horse work? We join several dead horses and see how they can work. If the dead horse is not moving, we whip it to check if the dead horse can run. If we cannot, if the whipping will not work, we threaten to sack the dead horse. There are about 12 different, or we get a consultant to come and teach us how a dead horse can work. Another way we do is we try to come up with a policy or a regulation that downplay the requirements, the prerequisite to play in the power sector. You bring it low so that dead horses can also work in the sector. And so we've been playing this game. What then is the way out? The first thing is government. Every government must understand, any government, whether the incoming or the present or with future leaders in the Nigerian power, in the country, should come to this acknowledgement that, one, power is a bedrock upon which our economy revolves. When you understand it, then you will know the importance of power. 2 years ago or so, I was in Senegal for a conference, and Morocco, Ghana, and others were there, and they made their presentation. I spoke to the Ghanaian, and I said, how do you people manage your grid? He said, grid, yes, it's fine, that because he's a system operator that was in that meeting. I was like, how often does your grid collapse? He said, collapse, what? That the day the grid collapses, he will lose his job. That the grid doesn't collapse. He must ensure that it does not collapse. So I kept quiet, because this is me used to grid collapsing every now and then. And then this person saying if he collapses, he will lose his job. So I left it. Morocco presented their power access, and as at then, it was 96% access. And during question time, I was puzzled. I asked, is Morocco in Africa? That is not to say I don't know my geography, but is Morocco in Africa? And they say yes. And I said, what is your secret? He said, the Royal Highness of Morocco is the chairman of their power. I said, do you have privatized system? Say no. that he every day is checking the level of power. If power goes down, whoever is responsible has to answer to him. So we must first of all come to the acknowledgement that power is a critical infrastructure for economic growth. Two, when we recognize this, then we must come to realize that we have a dead horse in the power sector. Now, I now go to the every incessant reversal of the privatization. I was talking to a friend last night and I said, it's good whenever we're frustrated, he said, reverse the privatization. Let us analyze the reversal. Let's say tomorrow the sector is reversed. Remember, NEPA, it was from NEPA to PACN.
Yes.
I was part of the team that filed for the winding down of PACN in CAC. So legally, PACN is dead too. So if today we say we are reversing the privatization, who are we giving the privatization to? Who?
Whether the government will take over then. Just like, because government is also in charge of transmission.
Okay, so which government? So will government resurrect PACN?
PACN.
Will government re-register a PACN?
Because government can do that.
Yes, I know that.
Just like they do even in the finance sector. They can come up with a bridge bank and they take over a bank.
Okay, that's the privatization. Now remember that for the privatization, government realized 2.5 billion USD.
So it has to pay back too.
It has to be paid back. That is not just that amount. You must check the default clauses in each of the interconnected agreements and the implication.
Okay.
So instead of reversing,
shouldn't we have a minute?
Yes.
To go.
So shouldn't we think of what to do? So I have listed a number of solutions.
Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. One is there is need for clarification of the linkages between the power sector and the real economy in the post-privatization era.
Okay.
Number two, the need to meet the challenges of national energy efficiency implementation and demand management. We need to specify the direction of the development of the national grid in relation to the prevalent growth of smart technology, because now everybody is saying renewable is the solution. It's not the solution, because the same dead horse theory will affect the renewable.
Okay.
I don't know if I need to do a closing remark because I still have other issues.
Very quickly in 45 seconds.
Okay, so in my closing remark, I want to say that if we can get the Nigerian electricity supply market right, we will get the Nigerian economy right, as well as Nigeria as a country. Something can be done. Something must be done. All it takes is a will.
Is a will. Okay. Is a will to acknowledge that there is a dead horse already.
Yes.
And not just be blinded as to waking up the dead horse when you know, or trying to give it name. So I like that analogy. When you talked about the dead horse, what came to my mind is bureaucratic insanity.
Oh, absolutely.
You know. But thank you very much, Dr. Joy. You've approached this program today like a professor in class, even itemizing what you would say, but I appreciate that. You know, there's no time for us to talk so much about this power issue, but perhaps there will be another time where I'll try and assemble all of you. If we don't fight each other that day on the show, with me being in the middle of you guys in the chain. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, Nigerians, for having me. Thank you.
All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. We've been looking at the national grid collapse. What more can I say? That's if it will not happen again. But be the best you can be. Be the change that you want to see. I'll see you all again tomorrow. I am Nancy Naji. Bye for now.